What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we are back with another episode of Lions Latest, going through the latest Detroit Lions news. Today, the Detroit Lions held their Family Fest, as this is the last week without Lions football, other than the bye week and the week between preseason and the regular season. And we got some takeaways, so let's get it started.
Fired up. It's made a great decision.
Great teammates, coaches, and other people who want to be Super Bowl champions. And we are. We're going to do it this year.
And we're going places, because we want to go places.
Touchdown, Detroit Lions!
Before long, we're going to be the last one standing.
Welcome, everybody, to another video. Glad you guys are here, and we are back. Lions football is officially here, man. It's about that time. Next week, the Lions have their first preseason game against the Atlanta Falcons on Friday. So today, the Lions held their Family Fest, which is open to the public. It's basically just a scrimmage. They do a little bit of drills before they get into the scrimmage, but that's basically what it is. You got kickoffs going on. You have punt situations. You have situational drives. At the same time, you have referees. So it's kind of getting into the flow of things, right? You have coaches communicating with the headsets on. So just getting comfortable back in the flow of game action. That's how close we are. Less than a week from Lions football. Less than a week from preseason for Lions football. And a Family Fest is just kind of that. It just feels like you really have turned that corner, right? That's what the Family Fest is. Like, okay, here we go. Like, we're full go now. We have a couple of days of training camp next week, and then it ends. It ends halfway through the week, and then you're on to preseason football, and we don't look back from there. We're into the Lions 2022 season. So it's that time. It is that time. And today's Family Fest was definitely exciting. It definitely lived up to the hype. I was at last year's Family Fest. It was a little bit different. You know, Dan Campbell had a little bit of a longer pregame speech. He talked a little bit about campfires and things like that. That wasn't the case. But he did say the hyenas need to get out of the way.
This is unbelievable. Look at you guys. Listen, I would say this. You guys have heard me say this, but I think what makes Detroit special is the fact that man, you guys will roll your sleeves up and put in a hard day's work. And I think we want to model ourselves after that. I tell you what, you would give your coat in winter. You would give your coat to somebody in winter that needed it, man. That's what this community is about. However, nobody will take advantage of our hospitality. Nobody. So that's who we're about. That's what we're about. This team is working their rear off to give you something to be proud of. All right, they're grinding it out right now. And I know this, we are freaking starving. We are starving. So the hyenas better get out of the way.
With the Lions fans. Shout out to everybody that said what's up today at Lions Family Fest. That was really cool to see some of you guys. I had to give him a couple shout outs here to my man they call P, and I believe Denver. Hopefully I'm not messing up your name, my man. Really cool to see some of you guys. And with that being said, I got a lot of notes from today. I literally have way too many notes. And I'm sure you've heard that DJ Chark did pretty darn well today. If you heard that, you would be right. DJ Chark has picked up where he's left off really the last few days. He's burst on the scene. Like, we've seen flashes, but the last few days in training camp, it's been like, oh, snap, DJ Chark is going to be an actual problem, like a big-time problem. And that was the last practice I was at was Thursday, where he went crazy. I mean, it was just like every time we needed a shot, it was DJ Chark. You get a sack, guess what? We're going to DJ Chark, and we're going to end the drill here. There were a few guys that I did not notice participating today at Detroit Lions Family Fest, and we'll get back to our normal participation updates when we get back to Monday with normal training camp updates. But with that being said, there was no Jeff Okudah participating today. I could have missed him. Now, I know he wasn't on the field. I could have missed him on the sideline, but I didn't see him there either. So there was no Jeff Okudah. There was no Quintez Cephas. I didn't see him out there either. There was no Levi. I didn't see Levi there either. Trinity Benson did participate today, and the only reason I bring that up is because we know he took a hard hit in the last practice, so there was a Trinity Benson. There was also no Julian Okwara either. I believe he was sitting on the bench. It could have been Romeo, but I'm pretty sure it was Julian sitting there on the bench without pads on. So he was out there, I think, but he was not participating. And we heard that it could potentially be an injury thing that he's dealing with, but we're not sure. But we know that he has in the past dealt with injuries. And I think the Detroit Lions, as they always say, are trying to play this smart. And why rush a guy like Julian out there? I mean, I think you know what you got in Julian. It's just about keeping him healthy. He's going to have a big role within this defense, specifically on pass downs, because they know what he can do off the edge. But it led to more opportunities for other guys like James Houston today. So that was good. Why rush him back out there? You know what you've got. You've seen him in training camp. He's done well. So with that that being said, those were the guys that I did not notice today. There are the regulars that were not participating today. There was no Jamison Williams participating, the Romeo Okwaras, the Jason Cabindas. The regulars were not participating today, but those are the guys that I did notice that we weren't really sure about. So with that being said, let's just dive right into this. Now, I should point this out. When you go to special teams, let's make a couple of special teams notes because they did do kickoffs today. And starting there, I don't know if this matters, but starting off with kickoffs, they worked with Austin Seibert first. He kicked it off first, and it was Khalil Pimpleton. Then it was Maurice Alexander taking reps at kick returner. Then when they switched it to Riley Patterson, he kicked it off to Godwin and Trinity Benson. So we know Godwin was our top kick returner last season. I don't want to really speculate based on that. Does that mean Pimpleton is kind of first right now and Maurice Alexander is really working his way up for potential to be in this role if he could somehow make the team because he has made some plays? Does it mean nothing? It could just mean absolutely nothing. Now, when they went to the punt returning aspect, of course, it was Jack Fox. Man, he laid some bombs. Now, not every kick is perfect, but there were back-to-back kicks from his own, I believe it was his own 30, 35-yard line. He punted that thing inside the 5 of the opponent right in the corner twice in a row. I was like, dang, Jack, that thing is pretty, man. It looks so much better indoors. That thing just flies towards the ceiling. Speaking of special teams, we did see the field goal kickers go at it today, and for the most part, I thought for both guys, it was a pretty good day. The only couple misses that I noticed were from Riley Patterson on the deep field goal attempts. You may have seen the video that the Lions put out of Austin Seibert knocking through a 62-yard field goal. Now, that was awesome. When I saw them put the ball down, right, because where the placeholder caught it and put it down was at their own 48, I was like, that thing is far, man. You're at their own side of the field. And, man, he made it. Now, he hit it off the bottom of the upright, the bottom of the goalpost. And I gotta be honest, it did bring some bad flashbacks to that Baltimore Ravens game, seeing the same thing, just from the opposite side of the field. It was like, ooh, that's tough. But he did make it. It was a very impressive kick from 62 yards, and I believe he was perfect on the day, making his from 50-plus as well. Riley Patterson, on the other hand, did well until he got to the 50-plus yard kicks, where I believe it was like 53 yards, where he pulled it wide right, and then he came back and he was short, and he attempted the 60-plus yard field goal. He was just short. Straight, but short, fell right in front of the goalpost. So, Austin Seibert, we know he has a monster leg, but this kicker battle is definitely still up for grabs, I would say, at this point. We know the Lions liked Austin Seibert. They told us last year they felt good about Austin Seibert going forward, but then Riley Patterson continued to emerge, and it was like, well, now we can't count out this guy because he only missed one field goal kick. The only one he missed was a long field goal, so you can't count that guy out now either. But with that being said, it was a battle today, and that battle continues, but Austin Seibert, I would say, won the day. But you don't want to hear about that. I mean, you're here to hear about the training camp notes and what this offense did, because that's the hype, right? I'm sure you've heard the stuff about DJ Chark, so let's dive right into it. So they start off with first-team offense against first-team defense. They did the same thing last year. I think it's just, I don't know why they do it. I guess it's just to get the offense maybe rolling a little bit earlier, right? And hey, the fans are there, right? They want to put on a little bit of a show. So you start off with the first-team offense, start out with a run. It was a little misdirection for DeAndre Swift that bounced for about 8 yards. You saw a lot of bounces outside from every running back: Craig Reynolds, DeAndre Swift, Jamar Jefferson, a lot of cutback runs. Misdirection was a big part of it. You also saw them, utilize some of the changing formations at the line of scrimmage, but they start off with a misdirection for 8 yards. Now, that can lead to negative plays. They did the same thing last year, a lot of misdirection runs, which can be good and also can lead to negative plays as guys can get through. And in this case, it started off really well. Then they came back with their normal play action. Brock Wright, 3-yard pass. I liked it, and the reason I point this play out is because the Lions, originally they line up in shotgun, then they audible into single back. Now, we saw every single group do this, the backups, the third strings, they all did this, I think, at one point, and we've seen this in training camp, but I do like that, changing the formation at the line of scrimmage, and I don't know if it's a check that the quarterback is seeing and saying, hey, we're going to go to this, or if it's already decided that that's what they're going to do when they get out there. I'm not sure, but regardless, that's what they did. They got a 3-yard pass, picked up the first down. Then it was Jamal Williams, who had a nice 7-yard run on Chris Board, who came up with the tackle, and then it was that play that you've probably seen on Twitter. It was DJ Chark who picked up exactly where he left off, beating Mark Gilbert. Now, Mark Gilbert was running with the twos, which is a very good look for him. Of course, there's no Jacobs. Of course, there was no Jeff Okudah today, and that shifts things up for sure. But with that said, it does seem like Mark Gilbert's in a good spot above the Savion Smiths, above some of those guys at cornerback, and I think a lot of us originally wrote Mark Gilbert off, and we only saw him in a small sample size, so it's understandable. But Don't sleep on Mark Gilbert either, because he is getting good reps. And for the last couple of days at practice, I started to notice that, and now you saw it again today. But in this situation, he was beat over the top by DJ Chark. And man, this has just looked like Groundhog Day. I mean, the same type of reception just seems to keep happening over and over between Jared Goff and DJ Chark. I mean, it looks like they've played together for a very long time just by how well the timing is. And it's simple. It really does remind me of the New England Patriots defense, and I've already compared it to just schematically on how it works and what they did in the past with concepts and all of these things. But just as simple as Lions said they wanted to win outside the numbers. Jared Goff seeing a matchup pre-snap, maybe getting man coverage on the outside, Mark Gilbert against Chark, and just saying my guy's going to win that matchup. And what does he do? Takes a snap, looks off the safety, comes back, puts it up right on the money. Just as simple as that. And it's a beautiful pass right in front. A little bit of a diving grab, but just put it right in front. Mark Gilbert can't make a play on the ball. Mark Gilbert, not a terrible off the release there, but I love the way that DJ Chark hand battles. And then Chark just makes this great sideline grab all the way to the opponent's 30-yard line. So it was like, boom, there you go. There's a shot play. It takes you back to the Cal days of just, hey, you got your matchup, 3-step drop, put it up there. Just simple as that. We don't need you rolling out, stepping up, throwing it 60 yards. Let's not do that. Doesn't make any sense. You win early, 3-step, look off the safety, come back, boom. Simple. Keep it simple. That play was out of the gun as well. Then they came back with another counter run. I got to make this point. I have mistaken. I, for some reason, kept thinking that Aaron Banks was Austin Bryant. The 94 kept throwing me off. So there are notes on here where I put down Austin Bryant made this play. But then I realized when I look back, I'm like, wait a minute, that's Eric Banks, man. So now I threw myself completely off with those two. So I apologize. I probably mixed them up in past videos. They both done well. Here was the first sighting, as I thought he had a really good day today. But in hindsight, looking at the last few days, I've been crediting a lot of Austin Bryant. Meanwhile, I probably should have been crediting a lot of Eric Banks. So that being said, Eric Banks being involved in a negative 1-yard run on a counter run from the shotgun, as well as Isaiah Buggs getting into the mix as well there. Then it was your classic DeAndre Swift angle route. You get the man coverage. And you saw Goff, he hung in the pocket a long time waiting for this to develop, kind of fading back away from the pressure and putting on the angle route, getting the completion for about 8 yards. Jared Goff down today, 13 of 16 today with 3 flags. That's why it's not more incomplete passes. 13 of 16, there was 3 flags. There was an offside call, there was a holding call in the offense, and there was an illegal contact on the defense. So those 3 passes that were incomplete, there were 3 flags. Take those out, I have him 13 of 16 on the day and multiple touchdowns as well. Finished off the drive in a 3rd and short situation was Jared Goff's incomplete pass to DJ Chark. This one seemed like it was on Goff. I would have to see it again to realize if Chark was trying to sit down in the zone or if he was running across through man. But I believe it was man coverage and he continued to drag across and something was messed up there, or it was just Goff threw it behind him. He put it behind him. Chark had to try to reach back, make the grab, couldn't do it, incomplete, and that's when they brought out the field goal unit. So that was the first time we saw the field goal unit, but at least it was a field goal on the first drive. It was a very makeable kick to get things started. Second team offense was led by David Blau today. That's how they got the thing started off, and they did it again with the first team defense. I saw less of Aiden Hutchinson today. I mean, maybe I just missed him a few times, but I feel like I didn't see as much Aiden Hutchinson as I have at practice. I saw him on this drive, and then I saw him later at the end, like in a situational drill. But I think for the most part, he was on the field less today than I've seen him in the past. Maybe. I could be off on that. I just feel like I saw him less today. Start off with another one of those misdirection runs. You could just see schematically they're doing similar things through all the groups. Then he had a flat pass that was thrown to Shane Zylstra, which I have to point out because it was on a cornerback blitz. So him to recognize that, get that off, get it out to an open Shane Zylstra in the flat. I think Alex Anzalone was trying to get to the ball, but I looked like they blitzed the cornerback, so that zone was vacant, and he flipped it out to Shane Zylstra, and he had a lot of room, and he just got up to the sideline, picked up a first down on that play. Then they came back with a counter run, and this was Charles Harris and Aiden Hutchinson to me flashing, and it was because you saw Aiden Hutchinson take on a pulling offensive lineman, like a brick wall, just boom. I mean, there was no movement there at all. And then it was Charles Harris off the backside getting involved and making a play. Charles Harris flashed a lot today. And what I noticed is specifically when they get obvious pass downs, putting Hutchinson in the interior is probably going to be something you see a ton. At least until maybe a guy like Josh Pascal comes back. If John Kaminsky's on the field, they can kick him out. But in the meantime, Aiden Hutchinson with Julian Healthy, with Romeo, with Charles Harris, James Houston, who's probably going to start to get involved here. I think in obvious pass downs, we're going to start to see James Houston this season. But Aiden Hutchinson on the interior made a lot of sense because either one, he'd get center and guard, and it was 2-on-1. And at that point, everyone else could usually get one-on-ones, or you'd have to account other blockers. And if you got a one-on-one, it was a really tough matchup. Our guards have struggled a little bit with him. Sometimes they get good reps, sometimes they don't. But he has done some work on the interior. The backup tackles were Dan Skipper and Matt Nelson. I thought I would point that out. I saw Albina as they do a little bit of work at right tackle again today. Then it was a great play by A.J. Parker. Have to bring this up because it was the first flash, I thought, in terms of coverage defensively. And it was A.J. Parker, and he saw it coming all the way. Very smart player, very good in zone coverage. He is instinctual, man. He just has a feel for route concepts, where I need to be, flowing to the football, finding himself in the right place, right time. And he jumped a stick route, and he nearly had an interception. Didn't come up with the play. You would like to see him make that play. With a screen that was brought down by Aiden Hutchinson after a pickup of 5 yards to Tom Kennedy. Also, I do want to point out that it was Shane Zylstra and Garrett Griffin here with the second unit at the tight end position. Another cutback run, and this time it was Craig Reynolds. And the pecking order does seem to be Craig is the third running back, Jamal Swift 1 and 2, but the number 4 is Jamar Jefferson right now. And there wasn't a lot of Godwin in the backfield today. There was a little bit, but it kind of cut off at 4 seemingly today. That seems to be their top 4 right now. And I like that top 4. I'm very happy with that top 4. But you saw Craig Reynolds. He was forced to kind of cut back. Aleem McNeil got a lot of penetration, and A.J. Parker was there to clean it up. Malcolm Rodriguez and Derek Barnes. So Malcolm, he's occasionally, every once in a while, mixing in with the first team, getting some reps. So they went Malcolm and they went Derek Barnes. When they had Malcolm and Davis together, Davis usually was the blitzer on pass downs. Malcolm would be the guy that can drop into coverage, even though Malcolm can rush the quarterback as well. Close to being sacked. I think they could have called it a sack. The play looked like it was dead, but then Deshaun Elliott picked the pass off. It was a high pass, and Deshaun Elliott picked it off, and they went with the interception, but then they reset the ball like the interception didn't happen. So I'm not really sure what the heck took place there, but it was close to being a sack. Either way, he put the ball up. The coaches were celebrating. Deshaun Elliott picked off an overthrown pass, diving interception by Deshaun Elliott. It was good to see him make a flash. I've been kind of waiting for something like that. Malcolm Rodriguez, I did notice because as soon as he came in, I'm like, I want to see what he does. Got on an out route, covered it up really well. I don't know if that's where the read was going to, but he did cover it really well. And yes, some pressure, little bit of good coverage, and it forced an overthrow and an interception, or what could have been actually a sack. But again, then they reset it. And this was interesting to me because this led to a 3rd and 8. And the Lions did this twice. I do have a little bit of like, okay, I'm not sure why they did this. Not this time. The second time I was very confused. We'll get to that. But the first time around, they showed a zero blitz look, which is basically just having no safeties deep, cornerbacks. They give separation. They give cushion off the line. It's an obvious pass down in 3rd and 8, so you're just trying to say, hey, we can give up 7 yards, 6 yards, 5 yards, anything less than 8, but that's it. So we want to protect the sticks here and see how fast we can get after that quarterback. And that's what they did. They showed it, and they did it. They brought the zero blitz, so it was one-on-one, no safety help over top, and it worked completely against them this time around. From an offensive perspective, they blocked us up well. Look at Pittman. Look at Hutchinson. But the free man, because they overload, was Brady Breeze. You can see A.J. Parker just caught with his eyes in the backfield. He's beat over top. The ball is just put up there beautifully. He does chase him down, Savion does, but beat deep. Shout out to David Blau for sticking in there, seeing that this is probably going to be zero and saying, hey, you got to be prepared to put that ball up. That's what they brought. Let it up there and just let Tom Kennedy run right underneath it. Then it was Jared Davis and Malcolm Rodriguez that came in, and here's where Charles flashed again with a tackle for loss. I had him down for a negative 4-yard tackle, and it was Eric Banks. Shout out to Eric Banks. Eric Banks and Charles Harris I had teaming up for a sack, loss of 6, and that led up to a 3rd and 20. So you went from being in a very good position to score a touchdown to 3rd and 20 and 2 negative plays in a row. That's good for the defense because remember, this is first team defense to make that kind of stand and force a couple of negatives. And again, they would have had a sack/interception, but they kind of just reset the ball. And then on 3rd and 20, the Detroit Lions came up with a stop, gave up a few yards, gave up about 8 yards, but it was Aiden Hutchinson who made the play from behind. I thought this was pretty impressive. He had the screen stop earlier for a few yards, but this time to rush, be able to recover, get back, pick up a screen from behind. He didn't make a play as soon as at the catch point, but he ran it down from behind and pushed the runner down to a pick of 8. I mean, if he didn't get him, someone else probably would have, but it stopped the play and it forced a field goal attempt. So a couple of early little flashes there from Aiden Hutchinson. Not egregious, hey, sack. but just a couple of really nice plays that I had him down for. Also, off to the sideline, I did notice Deuce Staley coaching up Jared Goff. You see, man, Goff is really engaged with his teammates off to the sideline before they start. You know, he's hyping up his teammates, things like that. He and Ben Johnson are on the same page. Seems to be a great relationship, at least as of right now, between the two, kind of joking around with each other. And then Deuce was just breaking it down to him on the sideline. I'm sure he was talking about something to going to the running backs or something like that. Like, hey, when our guys are doing this, you know, look for this, something like that. I have no idea. I don't want to speculate. But with that being said, they were also going through punt drills. I did notice Kirby Joseph kind of like looked like he stepped wrong and he was kind of walking funny, and I was like, oh no. I watched him. I stared him down all the way back to the bench and watched him walk around, but then he got back in there later, so I'm like, okay, we're good. It scared me, but I'm like, all right, we are good. At this point, we're ready to go. One-on-one. Offense, first team offense against first team defense. Again, still certain guys were rotating in and out. For example, Khalif Raymond is with the 2s and he's mixing in with the 1, so he's kind of rotating in and out. So with that said, it started off with Khalif Raymond. Shot attempt by Jared Goff to Khalif Raymond, but you could see it developing. It had really no shot. Very good coverage. And he got up on him early. He got kind of physical through the route. There was no flag call, but he cut off a post route, it looked like, from Khalif Raymond. Ball basically had no chance. Goff threw it over his head, but he wasn't open. I mean, you could tell when he threw it, like, yeah, that ball's going to have no chance. So he kind of it looked like he just kind of threw it out of harm's way on that play. That was one of the incomplete passes that he had, was deep to Khalif. Very good coverage there, though. You picked up on it early. You just watched it develop, and you're like, that's not open. And he ended up putting it up over there, and it had no shot of being caught. So there you go. I know we always talk about the weapons and what they do, but I'm trying to see as much as I can. And like, hey, are the secondary guys flashing? So there you go. That was nice. But we're back to crediting the offense because it was Amon-Ra St. Brown on the outside. And I mean, usually, hey, you're talking about DJ Chark, Josh Reynolds in these situations. Well, how about we get Amon-Ra St. Brown involved, covered by Will Harris, working vertical down the sideline, a beautiful touch pass by Jared Goff. Of an outside release by St. Brown. The little hesitation to get a little bit of weight shift inside and then to break the point of contact at the wrist. This is pretty, man. He is looking very polished. On to Amon-Ra St. Brown. I'm like, what the heck? Like, hold up. He did that on St. Brown, and just a beautiful touch pass he threw on the sideline to Amon-Ra St. Brown. A first down run by DeAndre Swift with Alex Anzalone. I saw penetrate, get into the backfield. Comes back with a rollout pass to Brock Wright, which was covered up well. Go to Jamal Williams, then to Amon-Ra St. Brown, and you rarely see this. I had him down for a drop pass. He ran a slant on A.J. Parker. It was in his hands. He just simply dropped the pass. The good thing for the Lions defense here, or the offense, is that there was an offside penalty, so that's one of the incompletes that don't count because it was offsides. So the Lions basically have to redo it, and this is when you got, I think, probably my favorite throw of the day, because I was just like, you watch the replay on the big screen because you see it, happen. You're like, that was pretty cool. You see the replay, I'm like, that's nasty. That is nasty, man. And it was a touchdown pass to guess who? DJ Chark in the back of the end zone. But this thing was disgusting, man. He put it right over the linebacker's hands, right off of AJ Parker's reach to DJ Chark. I mean, it was beautiful, man, and I would love to see another replay, but that thing was pretty, man. By the angle they gave you was awesome. It was Tim Boyle's turn to get at it, and Tim Boyle had his flashes, but again, there are times where it seems like he's like almost losing a rhythm. With that said, though, let me give Jared Davis some love, because I know we haven't had a lot of notes on Jared Davis. Well, here's one. Jared Davis blew up the first play, lost the 4 yards. They did a zone run right, and he was all over it from the jump. Tackle for loss, just completely blew up the play, and we're on to a 2nd and 14 on Jermar Jefferson. Jermar's start today rushing football was not pretty because there was a lot of negative hits as soon as he was getting the ball. Then Tim Boyle came back and made a really good pass. As he got a pickup on a blitz that was coming. He did, one of the Jared Goff's, fake snaps. I can't English right now. And he got Chris Board to show that he was rushing, and you kind of saw that, and you're like, okay, yeah, he's going after the quarterback. He got him. Snaps it. Chris Board brings the rush, hangs in the pocket, and delivers an absolute rifle to Trinity Benson on Mark Gilbert. Came out empty, but this next play didn't go very well as they had a near sack on the play. He had to just throw it to Khalif Raymond. I couldn't really tell who had the pressure on that play. I believe it was James Houston off the edge who got the pressure, and he forced him to throw it over the head of Khalif Raymond underneath. So I think it was James Houston there on Matt Nelson. It looked like he won off the right tackle position. Then I noted again John Kaminsky for another pressure. He just flashes, man. He does. John Kaminsky with a pressure. They had a little underneath pass, which actually turned into a very big game from Tom Kennedy, as he had a lot of room to run on the outside. Just caught it in the flat, took off, had a lot of room to run, picked up a very big gain, and that's when they went to one of those fake toss rollouts, threw it underneath Khalif Raymond. Mike Hughes came down, made a tackle for about a gain of 4, put you at the 14-yard line, back to a misdirection run. Jermar Jefferson brought down by John Kaminsky for a few yards. They go to a zone read, handoff, Craig Reynolds, excellent bounce outside. He really got the day started with the vision on that play. I was like, ooh, that's his vision. You just see it, how fast he processed that. I need to bounce this, get to the outside, and pick up a gain where there seemed to be a lot of push in the interior, but that was an outstanding cutback by Craig Reynolds to get to the edge there. And it was Josh Woods and Eric Banks, who I have down for a tackle for loss, -5 yards on the play. Again, good penetration here from the interior. The Lions got a little creative. They said, hey, Demetrius Taylor, you're athletic, right? You can play different spots along the defensive line. You did that at App State. All right, how about James Houston? Yeah, you're kind of a problem. You're a little twitchy. So let's utilize a stunt here. And they brought James in. They brought Demetrius Taylor around the outside, and it left Demetrius Taylor free to get to the quarterback. Didn't come up with a sack, but he got right in his face, and he's forced a very quick throwaway. So that was on the right side again, but the Lions ultimately, offensively, made the big play, and it was a really good pass by Tim Boyle. Nice little touch pass. Tom Kennedy is he just keeps flashing, man. I mean, every time it touches his hands, he catches the ball. I mean, he just catches everything that touches him, it seems like. And he threw a really nice little touch pass between the safety, Juju Hughes, trying to come over, linebackers behind him. It looked like he ran a stick nod route, which is basically like a stick, kind of stick out, and then you break back up inside, kind of like a post. He ran a nice little stick nod, touch pass, touchdown. Back to David Blau. Now, this is when they got into situations of having the ball at their opponent's 25-yard line. And this was against the first team defense, sort of, because they had guys mixing in and out. Big hole initially on the very first run. Pick up about 8 yards, Derek Barnes on the tackle. And I noted them down for very good blocking. They ran a zone stretch to the right side of the play. Very good blocking on that right side. By the way, I had Obina Eze at right tackle, so I'm just saying, show him a little bit of love. That length, his length and athleticism will translate pretty well, you would believe, to a zone rushing attack, and it showed up on that play. And then it was Jermar Jefferson, 3 straight runs, had a great cut, pushed it, bounced outside, right around the left side of the offensive line. It was an interior run, bounced it quickly, got outside, and he finished it with a touchdown. It was a very quick possession. It was 3 straight runs, and I think the Lions just wanted to see a little bit more passing of the football. So they said, okay, you know what, let's run it back. They start off with the first play being a pass to Khalil Pimpleton for 11 yards on Will Harris. Eric Banks, also Isaiah Buggs, got a little bit of heat on this play as well. Craig Reynolds, another bounce. Will Harris made the tackle, 6-yard gain on the play, but they called an offside penalty. This time it was on Austin Bryant, who they got for being offsides. Toss left to Godwin. It was like the first time I saw Godwin of the day. Fantastic pursuit by Malcolm Rodriguez. I noted him on this play because Malcolm, I wanted to see him as soon as he got out there, and you could see him diagnose it so fast, even though he was across the other side, and he started to chase it, and it looked like he was just out of arm's reach to bring him down sooner, because he is kind of short in terms of how much ground he could actually cover in terms of, wingspan and things like that. He had a rollout play which ultimately ended in the touchdown, which was cool because you really saw it develop because it was so slow. They did a rollout. Chase Lucas ended up picking up the underneath route. It looked like originally they had this thing covered up so well, and Chase Lucas was on it, and it was like, he's got nowhere to go. But Blau kept rolling and rolling and rolling, and then he got about to the 2-yard line, about the line of scrimmage, and Chase Lucas jumped up, got in his face, and he just dumped it right over top of him for a touchdown. And he was like, dang, man, where was my teammates? Why was nobody else to pick that up? Why didn't you slide down and pick that up? Back to the first team offense, where he gets the second team defense. Started off with a sack, and you could see this was a clear coverage sack as Goff just held the ball too long. They did like a 2-man concept with TJ Hawkinson, and it was took away. So I guess, the pressure was there kind of quick. It's not like he had it for like 7 seconds or anything like that, but it turned into a sack. It was covered up really well. But then Goff bounced back, and he threw what was, I'm not going to say a dot. I believe it was Kirby Joseph that made contact. It looked like at the catch point with DJ Chark. He stepped up later in the play again, fired an absolute missile to DJ Chark, and it looked like it was basically broken up at the catch point with Kirby Joseph coming down, and that's always dangerous when you throw it back middle late. Yet it was bounced up in the air, and DJ Chark, falling down, grabbed it, pulled it down, and picked up about 13 yards on the play and made it a 3rd and short. So it was a fantastic grab, fantastic concentration, because the pass that Jared Goff threw was a little dangerous. He tried to fit that thing in there. And I don't have a problem. You know what? You're going to do that. Again, if you're going to take some risks, you got to take the right risk, and you got to trust your guy to make the play. At least knock it down. He trusted his guy, and his guy ultimately won. Didn't have to, but he trusted him. He didn't hold back, so I'm fine with that. They didn't put Trinity Benson in at the Z position. They went to Amon-Ra St. Brown for a nice little out route. You could see it pre-snap. Safety was playing off coverage, hit it right away. Little out route to Amon-Ra. Then DeAndre Swift went 5 yards. Chris Board making the tackle. Then a pressure by James Houston. I believe it was also Eric Banks again. It was a holding call they got on Penei Sewell, but it was also a little bit of a rollout as well. But with that being said, they ended up forcing a holding call. This is the play where I was confused defensively with what the Lions were doing. They went to another zero coverage look. It was 3rd and 17, 3rd and goal from the 17-yard line, and they showed zero coverage. I don't like that. The situation doesn't make sense to me to show, like, why would you show a zero blitz? I mean, I'm not saying they're going to do it during the season, but I hope not, because to me, that situation doesn't make sense to show that kind of coverage. I mean, what's the benefit there, right? You blitz everybody. What's the benefit to that? You need 17 yards. I'd rather have more guys back deep in that situation to just protect the end zone. Showed zero. They didn't bring it. They actually dropped their linebackers. And Jared Goff, I mean, it just looked like easy money. Threw a nice little touch pass, post route to Amon-Ra St. Brown. He scored the touchdown. I didn't understand the play call defensively, because even though they didn't bring him, they had him all up on the line. So it was really tough for them to try to get back and get involved in the play. And they scored a touchdown on that, making a play and reacting to what the defense was showing him. The very last play, he reacted to St. Brown getting off coverage, hit the out. This concept, hey, they're showing zero. I know where I'm going with the football. We saw it a couple days ago. Hey, A.J. Parker's playing outside leverage. Linebackers come up, hit it, take off Amon-Ra. I mean, it's just, he seems to have answers. What do we always say? Someone needs to help Goff find the answers. Help him find the answers. He's finding the answers right now. I can at least tell you that. That's what it seems like to me. One more kind of walkthrough with the backups. This was Tim Boyle. Start off on the out route to Shane Zilster for about a pickup of 6. Incomplete deep corner to Khalif. He had him on this play, just threw it over his head. Just missed him. And we saw that last year. There were times where he missed him, but this one really didn't give him a shot at all to hit this play. Then they came back. It was a high incomplete pass to Tom Kennedy. Malcolm, you saw him dropping the cover. Jared Davis brought a rush, even though he didn't really get any pressure. Just threw it high, threw it over the head of Tom Kennedy on the next play. And then it was an incomplete pass again to Khalif Raymond, as it was kind of late. Cedric Boswell broke down on a dagger over the middle, undercut it, but he didn't break it up. The pass was incomplete. It was thrown pretty much uncatchable for Khalif Raymond. It can be a little bit difficult to hit him downfield. I understand it. It can be difficult to hit him downfield. He's not the biggest weapon, and we saw that last season. That can show up. It can. But there was a little bit of pressure there, and I thought there was actually going to end up being a flag because he held the ball a little long, and Jared Davis I thought was going to draw a holding call, but there was no holding call. First on first, Detroit Lions situational drill on 27, 141. Before I tell you how this happens, let me know. Put in your head, put in the comments, how do you think this drive plays out? How do you think this ends? Here we go. So 141 on 27-yard line. Here's how it goes. First play is a draw. Handoff to DeAndre Swift. Picks up 8 on Mark Gilbert with the tackle. Then he comes back to T.J. Hockenson. Hits an out route. Gets out of bounds, so he stops the clock. Mike Hughes was covering from the slot position on this play, and I noticed that because, they've been talking about him playing that. It was incomplete pass, all forced by Aiden Hutchinson. I haven't noticed him, all the times I'm not always paying attention and focusing on him, but this drive I was trying to look at him and focus on him, and this rep was absolutely disgusting. I mean, it was disgusting how fast he beat Jonah Jackson. It was disrespectful. I mean, how fast he beat the guy. Snap, swim over top, and he was at Jared Goff. And it was like, holy cow. I remember just sitting there like, did you just see that? I don't know if everybody saw him. Like, that is absolutely nasty. So we quickly had to get the ball out, threw an incomplete pass, but unfortunately for the defense, it was illegal contact on Mike Hughes. So again, the incomplete wouldn't count because it's illegal contact. So they got a few yards. Then it was Amon-Ra St. Brown on 3rd down who had a nice out route. Not going to pick up a first, I don't believe, but Will Harris was called for a face mask. So they get 15 yards. They move up the field a little bit further. And at this point, giving the offense extra opportunities is a very big problem. And they want to clean those up. Defensively, they need to clean those up. But offensively, credit to them, they're taking advantage of every one of these opportunities. From the 34-yard line, it ended just like it did on Thursday. A bomb to DJ Chark. Looked like a deep post route across the field. Goff stood in, just waited, pressure. You could see it was coming. You could see the arms coming. Play wasn't dead. Just stood in. It looked like kind of the pocket he had against Chicago when he threw the bomb to Josh Reynolds. Kind of stood in with the pressure, just let it fly, dropped it in the bucket. DJ Chark reaching out, makes the grab, touchdown right past Tracy Walker. There was a little bit of edge pressure. They had Aiden Hutchinson doubled. Center had to help, and DJ Chark did the rest. Touchdown, end of practice, bang. So there you go. I know I kind of went through just like almost every single play I marked down, but it's okay. I mean, that's what we're here for. If you weren't there, now you know. Now you know. So shout out to that. Let me know your thoughts, comments below. Thank you for watching. We'll be back next week with our normal days of training camp takeaways. And also appreciate everyone that said what's up. It was great to meet you, John, today. That was outstanding. Shout out to my man, Let's Talk Lions. Thank you for watching, and I'm out.